Hey guys, this is Hamon, and welcome back to ByteSize, the show of review games that I've taken interest in. They have to be old, they have to be new, they just have to be something I'm interested in. And today I'm going to be talking about HardSpace Shipbreaker. Wow, not even the first minute and yet I have to do this. Okay, so just to put it into words, if you've seen Season 1, you've probably saw me review the Shipyard Graveyard Salvage Simulator demo. And this is essentially that, but with a story. Okay? Be cool? Now give me a 5. Said story is that you are a person that has signed up to work for a company called Lynx, and as part of that, they essentially killed you off so that they can collect your DNA, so that they can make clones of you, which they call spares. And in doing this, they have given you a huge debt that you have to pay off, a ridiculous debt at that. And thus you're stuck working with them for as long as possible, with no chance of release. Along the way, you talk with crewmates that are working in other parts of the place, so you don't actually see them. You just see the little icons at the text bubble thing, and, learn about how things are for them. And, there's then talks of unions and all that because of how unfairly they're being treated, or rather how salvage workers are being treated, and thus they send somebody to muck it up. And I mean that because, typical bad guy faction of corporate stuff, they start doing things that just make the whole situation worse. And, it eventually comes to a head when it gets to a certain part that I will explain in gameplay aspect. We're just going to get right into it with the first part, which is graphics, and I will say everything looks nice. It's 3D, so it's a very interesting look at space stuff, like space stations, the spaceships that you have to break down eventually. They're all uniquely designed. I enjoyed looking at how the intricate and simplistic at the same time they are. Like, the outside can be simplistic, but the inside is like so many parts to it that you have to consider. And then, of course, there's space itself. I don't have a fascination with it like Markiplier does, but honestly, the thing is, I've been doing a 1-year background challenge. That is to say, I draw a background every day for the whole year, starting from my birthday. Now, here's the thing. I've been doing a lot of space, to the point where from day 150 to 200 I'll be just doing space. And if you want to see it, it's on my Twitter. That's all I'll really say, because that's just rambling at this point. But yeah, everything looks nice. The character designs of the people that you hear through the voices and all that are very interesting. They look like regular people. Like, there's no aliens in this at all either. Like, it's space, you would expect that, but no, it's just people. I don't even know if they've actually made contact or anything. There's nothing regarding that aspect of it, but you're just in space with a bunch of people, and they look nice, they look fine, and that's really all I can really say. Like, it's a really nicely designed game. Definitely would applaud the people that came up with the designs for the ship and such. Definitely would applaud them, especially since at the credits I saw a lot of stuff made by them. We're gonna move on to gameplay, which, if you played any simulator game, it's that same premise. You do the job, you earn money, you upgrade your gear so that you can do the job better. Now, the thing is, there's a method to the madness. See, the way I see it, or at least the way I do it, is that you start off taking apart everything on the outside, like anything that you can take apart easily. Then you move on to the inside and start from within. I guess you could say you kind of act like a Tasmanian devil in that way, because all these ships have a thing called hazard levels. At the beginning, you start off with level 1, which is basically a pretty much gutted ship that has no air pressure and is fairly simple to get around. But as you progress, you get introduced to things such as pressure, because there's air in the compartments. And when you open up a thing, you better make sure that everything is at the same level, otherwise you are facing massive issues with it's either sucking you in or pulling or pushing you out. Thus, you have to be careful. There's the items that can explode upon being exposed to heat. Then there's the nuclear reactor. There's 2 levels to it, but I will explain them in a little bit, because I want to talk about one specific level. As the story progresses, there's talks of union. So they send a guy, like I mentioned earlier, that mucks the whole thing up. You know, doing typical bad guy stuff, starts taking away people's privileges, doing all kinds of stuff that just gets on their nerves. Eventually reaches a head, and this one level, instead of doing your job, you do the complete opposite. You start destroying the ship, you start putting things in the wrong place, you basically do everything to lose money. That's what's the most fun, because, oh man, just to tell you, the moment I realized what we were doing, I was like, oh, I know exactly where to go. Here's the thing, nuclear reactors have a specific way you have to take care of them, and have a time limit of when to take care of them. There's 2 levels to it, by the way. Level 1 and Level 2. Level 1 is fairly simple. You pull it out and you toss it into the barge. Once you are able to. You cannot just pull it and not have any way of putting it into the barge quickly, because those things will just go off after a few seconds. That's Level 1. Level 2 is similar, however, there's a method to how to do it. Of course, you can pull it out, but that damages it, giving you less time to put it into the barge. So instead, you have to flush the thrusters that are behind it, and then take care of the ECU unit that is keeping it cool. But before that, you have to make sure that you can get it out, because it is in a casing that you have to pull apart. You have to make sure that there's an opening to the barge that allows you to throw it in there. And once all that is done, that's when you do the ECU. It gives you the maximum amount of time, and you can take care of it there. However, for this rebellious level, I was destroying stuff. I actually blew up some gas canisters, and it was lovely. But as I was working, I suddenly got the prompt that the nuclear reactor was about to go off. So I just hung back and waited for the thing to go off. It was like watching a beautiful firework. And I was so happy, because it's like, I just enjoyed the destruction of it. Sadly, that's the only level you're allowed to do that in. If you want to do more, you'd have to probably do free play or such, just so you can, enjoy the fireworks and all that. But otherwise, it's that typical thing. Okay, to save myself some time for this, I'm going to explain the 3 facilities and the items that go into them. Please be aware that as you're taking apart the ship, you have to look at each part carefully, make sure there is nothing on there that will be destroyed when you put them in their facilities, otherwise you're going to lose money. First, we have the furnace, the big 2 gates of hell in the back. They take in items that are labeled red. This includes the aluminum frame and any fabric that's attached to the ship. Take those apart, take the ship apart, and then send them in. Anything that is labeled blue goes into the 2 gate-looking things in front of the furnaces that are called processors. This includes the nanocarbon shell of the ship, this includes the fuel pipes, and anything else that is escaping my mind right now that is labeled blue for the processor. Everything else should be labeled green, and that goes into the barge. Anything that goes into the barge can include the aforementioned nuclear reactor, electronics, storage units, supplies that were apparently being carried by the cargo, freaking science experiment looking stuff. Basically anything that is labeled green goes into the barge. And please be sure that if you're doing the nuclear reactor, as I mentioned before, you have a clear path to do so. Otherwise you are going to be wasting time trying to open a path up when you should have done that prior. Okay? We good? I'm gonna need 10. But with that said, if you want to check out this game, I definitely would recommend it. It is available on Xbox Game Pass, free for subscribers as usual. Otherwise, it is available at the price at the lower left hand of the screen. It is also available on the following consoles and such, if possible. And with that said, I want to thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode of ByteSize. If you did, please leave a like, favorite, and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. And I will see you next time. Bye!